Welcome to another episode of Band Director Boot Camp, the podcast with productivity and wellness tips for busy band directors. I'm your host, Lesley Moffat, and I'm really grateful to be sharing this platform with you. As busy band directors, we know you don't have time to watch lengthy professional development webinars, so we share 20-minute tidbits with takeaways you can use to support you in this awesome profession in a healthy way. And we have with us today, our guest is Jim Evans, and Jim is going to, he comes to us with a wealth of experience. He's taught for 30 years. He taught middle school band, quite a lot of beginners, as well as K-12, always in Title I schools. He's retired, but not really retired. He's back in the schools working, still doing consulting and the like. He's also a composer, and he runs some summer music programs and the like. But his passion, one of his passions, has been young bands, those beginning bands. And so he has created, and I came across this because I'm teaching beginning band for the first time in my 35 years of teaching. And I came across his site and was blown away by it. And so I asked him to be a guest today so he could share with us. So I know they're not here to hear me talk today. They're here to learn what you've got, because there's some heavy duty takeaways today. And so before I give him a moment to tell us a little bit about himself, I just want you guys to hang in today, because he's going to give us some resources that he's used to help, and you can use to help teach and reinforce concepts with your ensembles and enrichment stuff for students to keep them engaged and retain them during those beginning years, even if you have very little to no budget. All right, so hang on there. And Jim Evans, welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you here. Before we dig in to asking you some questions about this resource that you've created and are going to talk to us about, tell us what led you to becoming a band director. It's a lot of time to spend doing something, so there must have been a reason.
Right. Well, I was in band at school, and I went to college on a music scholarship and studied composition. I got a degree in composition, and I graduated, and I couldn't get a composition job. And, so my skills kind of lined up with band directing. So I started teaching on an emergency certification, went back to school, got my regular certification, and I've just been doing it ever since. And, kind of combined the original, the composition with the band directing.
So, talk to us today about, because you're going to talk to us about some great resources you created for beginning bands, but there's already a lot of stuff out there for beginning bands. So why didn't you just get that stuff and move on with life? Talk to us about that.
Okay. Well, of course, I first started doing this. I graduated in 90. I started teaching in the mid 90s, and the internet was just becoming a big thing. And it just seemed to me like, man, it sure would be cool if we had stuff on the internet that would, band resources on the internet, if we could share and collaborate. And so I put a website together, and I put, I put together a couple of method books and just scale sheets and finger charts and all that kind of stuff. And I did that, and I had that on the internet for a while, about 7 or 8 years. And I kind of shut it down because other folks were doing it too. And then about 7 or 8 years ago, 2015, 16, somewhere in there, I just realized that I should really focus on young bands, because there's such a need, especially the first year or two, with young bands, small bands, and bands without a lot of budget. I could kind of focus my energies there, and that's what I did. And so I have, in addition to the method books that I did those in like 2000 or so. I started creating some ensemble and other materials for young bands, and I put them and I started up a new website for that.
So that sounds like a lot of work. But
yeah, it was.
Yeah, but it's so generous that you've put this stuff out there and you let people use it now, because once you've got something like that, you can take it and maybe modify a little bit. But man, you've put so much stuff out there. I wanted to ask you if you could, there's so much that we could go about, but maybe we could pick 3 sections to have you tell us about them and what makes them helpful, especially in situations, like where this might be your only resource. So why, first talk to us about the free downloadable and printable method books you've got on there.
Okay. So, in 2000, over the summer, I just spent my summer writing a method book it's called Bandfolio Band Method. I did it because I wanted to have a free, printable, downloadable band method for my classes, and I wanted to share them with other folks because I always had problems with kids buying and keeping up with band methods. I tried to get the school to supply them, and they wouldn't do it. They said they're consumable. I don't know. Anyway, so because it was early, it was 2000, and it was bandwidth was still an issue. I tried to make it concise, so that it wouldn't take forever to download, and I just tried to hit all the concepts that I felt like needed to be in a first year band method, and make it so that you just print them off and pass them out. And if the kids don't bring one, you can just print another one. So then the next summer, I did the same thing. I did a second year band method, and I made it so that it like runs through key signatures with a bunch of, exercises, like, scale patterns, stuff like that. And then maybe some like short chorale and stuff, so that it would get kids familiar with, B flat, E flat, F, A flat, C concert, and start expanding range and that sort of thing. Both of those, I made them, put them out on a website called bandfolio.com. That was a long time ago. That website's not there anymore. But that was the idea. And you keep them free. I'm sorry.
Oh, but you do have them out there on beginning.band.
Yes, I do. I do have. They are out there. I've got them. You can literally go download like one book, or you can go download like a bundle that has them all in a zip file, and they're free. I've also recommended to folks that they could, use them as supplementary material. You may not be in a situation where you need to have books that you can just print off, but they can still be useful for a supplement.
Yeah, and nowadays with so many schools with kids one-on-one on devices too, they can go in and pull it up, so you don't have to keep doing it for them.
During COVID,
as a teacher, having them be able to get their own resource so they don't come irritate you.
When during COVID, when we were in Schoology, and I just had all the band methods, because all the kids were sitting at home with their horns, and I was able to just like have all the books there and just have them open the book, and that was really helpful. So
and still is, so they can practice at home if they don't have their music with them and stuff like that. So I think they can always get another copy. No, dog didn't eat the other copy. It's up there on the Google Drive, kids.
That's it.
Awesome.
No excuses.
Right, well, this whole episode would be worth it just to let people know that resource is out there, because it is huge. But talk to us about, you also have solo and ensemble resources. So give us a brief little insight as to what's there.
Okay. Well, so I've always been a big proponent of taking kids to solo and ensemble, because it builds that independence. You get the young kids reading, counting, playing, taking ownership of a piece, preparing. I just really, I've really been like wanting my kids to do that. So we were using the, can't remember, Chose, I think is the name of the, I want to say, there's a festival solos, which is good, and I have the whole set and I was using them with the kids. But especially for clarinet, it was hard to find if the kids can't play over the break yet. I think there was one solo that worked for them. It was a lot of dotted rhythms and stuff. It was like we could maybe get stuff that was at a lower level, especially like we had a lot of elementary kids in Birmingham City. I was teaching at the time that I made these. I had 4th and 5th graders, and I wanted music that they could play with confidence. I wanted to make sure they weren't missing entrances, things like that. Also, concurrently with this, our state, in Alabama, they were kind of like trying to really encourage people to have accompaniment when they go to solo and ensemble, because we don't have like like Texas. When I started teaching in Texas, we had a PML, and we had the solo and ensemble stuff had to be on a list, but in Alabama, you just select a piece. So I kind of may have lost my train of thought there, but
we're just talking about your different resources that you've created.
Oh, but okay. So so we were getting a push for kids to have some kind of accompaniment when they go to solo and ensemble, and I was also trying to make sure that it was limited range, limited rhythmic complexity. I didn't want them to have to come in on a pickup. I wanted young kids to be able to go in with confidence, right? So I wrote a series of solos, playable on any wind instrument. Got them in little books with a piano accompaniment and an MP3 accompaniment. And I had a buddy of mine who was supposed to come work with my kids to play piano for them for solo and ensemble, and then he kept missing. He kept not showing up, and it was like, oh, this is super frustrating. So I went back. I said, you know what? I will do it. And I went back and rearranged the accompaniments for guitar so that I could go in and accompany them on guitar. So now I have guitar, piano, or MP3 accompaniment for every solo. And then the next summer, I went back and did another set of them. So I have 24 of those solos. The range goes from B flat concert to A flat concert. No, there's no E natural, it's like, it's these notes, it's these rhythms, no dotted chord, just simple, but effective. Kids like playing them, easy to accompany.
Yeah. Opening a lot of doors with the first one being successful, and how many of us need those opportunities. So before we get to your final question, I want to invite our listeners to take a moment to think about how you can put some of these practices we've been talking about in the different Band Director Bootcamp podcast into practice in your own life. Welcome, Band Director Bootcamp listeners. If you're feeling a bit burnt out and are ready for support and accountability partners in your wellness and productivity, we have an amazing opportunity for you. Join our 90-day virtual boot camp, a community initiative designed for busy band directors like you who love their job but seek a more sustainable approach. We'll meet weekly, discuss your wellness goals, and develop strategies to help you achieve them. We'll tackle productivity hacks and fine-tune systems for the upcoming school year. With 35 years of experience, I've got some tricks and tips up my sleeve that I can't wait to share. So, as we move into a new season of our lives, if you want to feel empowered and supported by like-minded individuals, this is your chance. Reach out to me at banddirectorbootcamp.com or click on the link in our show notes to schedule a 15-minute call. Let's ensure this is the right fit for you, get you signed up, and embark on this wellness journey together. Because together, we rise. All right. We are back here with Jim Evans for a final question, and he's sharing the resources from his website, beginning.band. And he's already talked to us about all the free downloadable printable band method books and the solo and ensemble resources. And there's another section that we're going to share with you as we have our last couple minutes here, and that's about the pep band and what you've got available here, because we've all been in that situation where somebody needs a group somewhere soon, and you're like, but what are we going to do? So talk to us about this part.
Okay, so when I was teaching in Houston in 1996 or something, my little middle school band, we were told that we needed to play in the parade. Well, there's some kind of community parade coming along, and I had just been there a year or two, and we really didn't have, we just were not up for that. So I wrote a piece called IDK. I just remembered the name IDK from some kid that I had went to school with in third grade. He wrote IDK on his spelling test, and it stuck with me. And so I called the piece IDK so it would have a title. Kept the rhythm the same for all the instruments, put a little beat with it. And that piece it was on the bandfolio.com site, and it's been all over. People playing it all over the place, right? And anyway, so that fight song, people use it for fight songs, play it at pep rallies. I also started about 2016 when they started, when ArrangeMe.com, Sheet Music Plus and Hal Leonard started letting people arrange and post on Sheet Music Plus and Sheet Music Direct. I started putting pieces together to publish up there, because back in the old days, folks would just like write out pop tunes and there would be no licensing or whatever. And so I wanted to keep it, I wanted to like kind of legitimize them, right? And like put pieces out where they're actually, you can download this, I keep them as cheap as they will possibly let me keep them, but you can go to Sheet Music Plus, or you can actually just go to beginning.band and then follow the link and get pep band stuff, first and second year accessible pieces that will work for your football games and your pep rallies or whatever. If you have a young group and you trying to have them in a parade or whatever, there's several pieces available that work really well for that. I have a Dynamite, the song Dynamite. Okay, so I have one where that you can do if you got some kids that can play a melody, and you have kids playing three notes, and just playing that just doing the vamp, and I guess it's just the chorus part of that tune. But that, I've had little 5th and 6th graders out marching in the parade, playing Dynamite and just having a blast. And it just, I try to just make it as accessible as I can, and yet still sound like something, something that kids want to play.
Well, there you go. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I want to encourage all you listeners to go to beginning.band and check out what he's got. It's can save you a lot of time and stress, and so it's not just a productivity tip. It can become a wellness tip for you when you've got these right at your fingertips, and it's something you don't have to stress about. So Jim Evans, thank you so much for your time and expertise and generosity of all these resources that you've provided for so many years, and for joining us on this edition of Band Director Boot Camp. And thank you to all you listeners who are making a difference in kids' lives every day through the magic of music education. The work you do matters, and so do you. Join us next time on Band Director Boot Camp for another episode of productivity and wellness tips to make your life a little easier.